Let me ask you a question. When you stop and look at your team, are they up and talking, working side by side, doing what looks like collaborating? Or are they sitting behind their screen at their desk, quiet and all hunched over? If your team is the latter, stay tuned because we're going to discuss how to lead with open and honest communication. As always, before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel for the latest and best leadership and team building advice, and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every Thursday. Where you find the tools to shape the leader you want to be. Welcome to this week's episode. My name is Renata with RenataPorter.com. I don't know why, but it seems that managers run away from open and honest communication. If you want your team to truly be productive, then you have to lead by example. And by productive, I mean that they are focused on a successful end game or outcome. And you're not wasting time or emotions because someone wasn't comfortable enough to speak up or to share their own idea. Most importantly, you just can't expect the team to communicate correctly and often if you don't demonstrate and encourage it to happen. So let's get into the 5 ways to move from being a manager to a leader through open and honest communication. Now, as with most of my content, what I will be saying will sound like common sense. But if you're watching this video, then you know it's not common practice. So let's get you moving in that direction. Number 1. Listen. I mean, really listen. I'm going to assume that you're a leader that asks for opinions, feedback, suggestions from your team. What good does it do if you don't actually listen to their responses? This is something I witness a lot and it infuriates me. A manager asks those around the table a question but quickly dismisses it because they've already made up their mind or they've had no intention of hearing what the team had to say. First of all, if you're a manager and think you have all the answers, yeah, give me a call or send me an email because maybe you could do with a coaching session. But in all honesty, you need to lead by example and actually listen to the responses of your team. That means you let them finish what they're saying and you acknowledge what they've just said. And if it's a team where you haven't built up trust or you've ruined that trust by being dismissive, then you may need to put some time in and you really might need to poll responses or lead people into a discussion. They need to trust that you're truly interested in what they have to say and might actually put their ideas into action. Remember, the end game is absolute best outcomes in a team that knows how to communicate. So lead by listening. Number 2, provide feedback, and often. This can be in a one-on-one or in team meetings. People need to understand what they're doing well and where they may have gaps. All feedback needs to be consistent, factual, and not emotional. While sometimes it can be hard to separate the factual and emotional, which is why a lot of managers avoid feedback like the plague, but I believe the sole purpose of feedback is so I can either inspire someone to continue on doing an excellent job or provide details on where things can improve. This is especially true for a new or struggling employee. Remember, the goal is to build a great team, so your intent should always be to motivate and improve performance. And a strong communication tactic is to consistently provide feedback. The same is true in a team setting. You can encourage discussion by telling them they're on the right track, simply nodding, or, stepping in when you feel like they're losing sight of the objective. Number 3, accepting feedback. This one can be a little tricky. 1, you have to be willing to grow as a leader, and you can't if you don't really hear what you're doing well and where you have your own gaps. If you are leaving this to your own assumptions or what your manager has to say, then you're limiting your own growth. Secondly, it means your team has to trust that they can provide feedback without repercussions. So you must encourage it, which means you might have to pull it out of them or really push conversations. State that you're looking to honestly grow and better yourself. Encourage them to speak the facts and that you're not looking to engage in over emotion. Just that you wish to grow. Now, this really may take some time to build if that trust is not there, but you have to start asking the questions. Before we move on, I would love to hear from you. So the question of the week is, how do you practice open and honest communication? Number 4, quality debate. Debating comes with some negative undertones. Some people would even classify it as arguing. Some of you might feel it has no place in the work environment. Feedback is someone's point of view or feelings about a situation. A debate is when 2 or more people absolutely feel they have the right answer. Well, that's my definition anyhow. I say debate is healthy and allows for creativity and idea or solution building. Sometimes people just can't see any other way until an opposing view shows them a different path. Sometimes bridges are built and 2 different schools of thought become one. That potentially would have never happened had there not been an active and healthy debate with open and honest communication. It's also up to you to make sure there's a positive outcome. So in order for that to happen, there needs to be some ground rules. The debate should be about an outcome. This isn't about one person being a winner. It's about the team winning because there was a robust conversation. When someone is presenting their side, let them finish and don't allow any interruptions. And lastly, everyone is treated with respect and as if they're colleagues, not adversaries. While this seems like common sense, a lot of companies love to play in politics. And in order to build a strong culture and team, you always want them to feel as if they're one, not divided. Number 5, be clear. I know we touched on this last week, but if you want an environment of open and honest communication, you have to be clear in what you're saying. I mean, I know this sounds silly, but the reality is if you're about to deliver news or deliver a task, how is it going to help anyone if you're evasive or sugarcoating the message? Remember, your team are humans and potentially adults, so treat them as such, because if you don't, they'll see right through you. By being clear when delivering a difficult message, there is no room for filling the gaps with worst-case scenarios. By being clear when delivering a task, they know exactly what expectations they are trying to reach, so they're set up for success, not missing the mark. Clarity can even be something like, I've been asked to deliver a presentation on Friday outlining our solution. Now, I know we haven't completely worked through the solution, but I need to pull something together. So the clarity is that you don't have a clear end goal other than you need to pull a presentation together. Maybe it'll show options. The point is, clarity is a straight line to honest and effective communication. All right, so those were my 5 ways to lead with open and honest communication. I'm sure there's other examples, but these are key ones that you should be putting into practice every day. Don't forget to get your worksheet on today's episode. It'll help you formulate your own plan to put things in motion. I'll put a link to that below this video. If you like today's episode, please let me know by liking or subscribing and sending and sharing it with your friends. And I'd always love to read your comments, so let me know if today's episode was helpful. Lastly, be sure to visit my website, renataporter.com, because there you'll find content I won't share anywhere else. All right, everyone, I'll see you next week. Okay.